Perfect. Okay, so we are here with Jennifer from Resilience Yoga Therapy. Again, I really just want to thank you, Jen, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here tonight. It's just you and I for now, but I know lots of people will benefit from hearing what transpires on the line tonight. So thank you for being with us. And
thank you.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about yourself, and also what exactly yoga therapy is.
Okay, so I'm a yoga therapist, and I also work as a yoga teacher. I've been teaching yoga for about 10 years now. And in addition to that, I specialize in teaching people mindfulness and leading meditation and mindfulness, both for individuals and groups at work. So my background is really around this idea of changing an organization or changing in response to a personal situation and helping people through that change. So I've worked as a business consultant my entire career in that area, and now I'm transitioning to more work around yoga therapy. So yoga therapy, you had asked, is really sort of an emerging integrative health field. The idea is to empower people to overall health and well-being. So what we do as yoga therapists is leverage the ancient practices of yoga. So that includes, lots of different practices, not just the poses or the movements that you might see, but breath practice, meditation, deep relaxation, chanting, and other practices. We leverage those practices to help people with physiological, physical, or mental health conditions. So we work with people who have anything from back pain to cancer, arthritis, and even those who are just looking to reduce stress and anxiety in their lives. Studies are really starting to show now that these yoga practices are healing people and helping people with these conditions.
Wow, that's so interesting and really impactful to learn that we may very well possess this power, or actually do, is what you're saying, within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
mm-hmm.
elaborate? Let's just say I'm someone that, this is a brand new concept to me. I'm in pain. I'm in real physical pain, and you're telling me that maybe by doing some of these approaches, I can alleviate my pain, for example, with chanting. I mean, to someone that's a brand new concept, how would you, in a nutshell, explain what the studies are coming out to show?
Yes, that's a great question. So there's a lot of research being done right now around chronic pain in general and chronic pain as a condition. And those studies are available online, and I can, provide links to where people can find more information about some of the research being done around yoga therapy. But to give you an example of how yoga practices can help somebody who's in pain, one of the best ways to address immediate pain, particularly if the pain is an acute situation where it's immediate, I need relief now, is to take your awareness from the pain and focus the awareness on your breath. So this may sound kind of ridiculous. I'm breathing all the time. And I'm always in pain. So how would that help me? What's interesting over time is to observe your breath when you're having an acute pain incident, and notice if your breath might be more shallow, if it might be more jagged, if you will, not quite as smooth. And by slowing the breath down, by lengthening your breath both on the inhalation and the exhalation, you are essentially connecting with your nervous system and telling your nervous system to calm down, that everything is okay. So it's really difficult to deal with a stressful situation, whether it's a stressful event or a pain condition, when your nervous system is on high alert. So the first thing we can do is to notice, I'm having a painful moment. I'm going to become aware of my breath and just see if I can slow my breath down a little bit. So that's one example. So, chanting is also being studied as a way to help people who have anxiety and also people who are experiencing pain conditions. And one of the reasons why practices like chanting can be helpful is if you think about when you're singing a song, right? Like even if you were singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm, right? E-I-E-I-O. And if you notice how when we're singing, oftentimes we're holding a note, right? So let's say we're singing that last O on the E-I-E-I-O. When we hold a note like that or we chant, typically our breath, our exhale is longer than our inhale. And that idea of a longer exhalation, it has been shown to, once again, help calm the nervous system. So that's kind of where chanting can come of benefit. There's many other benefits to chanting, but that's just kind of one example.
Very interesting. What I love about taking time to break these things down is that it gives, just regular folk out on the street a chance to understand some of these complex things, and it's very helpful to learn something that we're able to do in any given moment, which, like you said, is breathe. So
exactly.
when we had time together at our other meeting, which was fantastic, you had mentioned that the vibes kind of shifted, and everyone, I can say, left in better spirits than when they came in. I think you would agree. You gave a visual, very interesting visual, pertaining to that nervous system and breath and mindfulness and pain and all that kind of cycle and connection of like an upside-down umbrella. Could you illustrate that again for us quickly?
Sure. What you're referring to, I believe, is our conversation around breath dynamics and how the anatomy of breath, how the body responds to the inhalation and the exhalation. And in particular, we were discussing the diaphragm and what the diaphragm is and how it helps support breath. And the diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle that exists in the chest cavity, and it's shaped like an upside-down umbrella. You can kind of think of it that way. That's actually an open umbrella, right? So when the diaphragm is relaxed, so when we exhale and the lungs are empty, the diaphragm is in its relaxed position, so it looks like an umbrella, right? So it's kind of in a upside down U shape. When we inhale, the diaphragm moves down toward our feet, and the dome takes on the opposite shape, so it's more of like an umbrella that's sort of inside out, if you will, right? Or you imagine that umbrella kind of being blown inside out. The lungs fill with air. The diaphragm moves down to accommodate that and allow the lungs to expand. And then on the exhale, the diaphragm moves back up to help the air to move out of the lungs and circulate that process again. So when the diaphragm moves, it's stimulating a response in the body that tells us to, relax and everything's going to be okay. So if we're in that mode of high pain situation, the diaphragm may not be moving or functioning as effectively as it could. So the body may not be getting oxygen as efficiently. And again, that tells the nervous system, hey, we're not safe. But if we can slow it down and let the diaphragm do its job of expanding and releasing fully, then that helps to calm the nervous system down and helps us to relax. So when it's hard to heal when you're in pain, right?
Right.
Because all you can focus on is the pain. So if we can take our attention off the immediate experience of pain and just recognize, oh, this is pain I'm experiencing, I'm going to take some deep breaths and then see where I'm at, that just allows us to kind of do a little switch in our brain to kind of become aware of it, to acknowledge it, and then make that shift into a more easy state.
Absolutely.
So I hope that covers what you were talking about. We did spend more time on it, but
yes, definitely. Well, you know what? You snooze, you lose. So I appreciate you for going back into that. It just fascinated me. And I think it can be very helpful to kind of have a little visual as to what exactly is going on the inside when this is happening, and then it could just really help kind of connect and bring everything together to make it real, because we're often going through our day on a regular basis having all these things happen. We're having food being digested, and we're having our heart beat, and we're having blood flow, and we don't necessarily feel these things.
Right.
And so what I really enjoy about the concept of breathing is not only can we feel it, in terms of even putting our hand on our chest or our tummy, really putting two and two together, but you just had such a nice way of kind of walking us through this. And I know we don't have too much time, but part of my vision with connecting with people you should know amongst our community, which includes you. You're officially our first interview kind of thing, so this is very exciting for so many different reasons. We love, where Resilience Yoga Therapy stands in terms of holistic health and mindfulness, so our paths aligning is just divine. But what I am hoping to give people who are listening is something that they can walk away, take away from this clip, and not improve, to the extent that it's cured or fixed, of course, there's a little disclaimer there, but instantly, so to say, improve their circumstances. Could you walk us through just kind of a way to ground ourselves quickly and kind of get that kind of breath you're talking about started?
Sure. Yes, and just before I do, just to kind of lay the groundwork again, really that's what yoga therapy is all about. What you described is to empower the client or the individual to tap into the resources that are already there in our minds and our bodies to help support and promote healing. The idea being to move us forward. Like you said, we may not heal the pain or eliminate the pain, but at least we can honor it, address it, and move forward so that we can, have the best quality of life possible. So that's what yoga therapy is designed to do. So what I will do then is lead you through an experience of this practice, a short experience. And then people can play with this on their own at home. Does that sound good?
That sounds perfect. That's great. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay, so let's just take a moment wherever you're at right now. If you're seated, you can stay seated. If you're uncomfortable and you'd like to lie down, you're more than welcome to lie down. And let your eyes rest. So you might let your eyes close or maybe take a soft gaze downward. And so as we close the eyes, it helps us to bring the awareness a little bit more internally. It helps us focus our awareness on the body. So as you're sitting here or lying here, become aware of your body right now. Sense the support of the chair or the floor beneath you. And let your body relax to that support. Let your pelvis soften, relax the hips and the legs. Notice your shoulders. Let go of any tension that might be held there. Just allow the shoulders to soften down your back. Relax your jaw. Let the mouth slightly open. And let the tongue fall from the upper palate. Soften your face and your brow. Just feel yourself here, sitting here or lying here right now. And then begin to notice your body breathing. So without changing or controlling your breath, just becoming aware of the fact that you are breathing right now. regardless of how your day went or the level of pain that you're experiencing right now, notice your breathing, how it just continues to come and go. And then allow the breath to lengthen. So let your inhale now lengthen a little bit. And then release it. Exhale. And try that again, inhaling through the nose. Just a slow, deep breath. And exhaling through the nose. And again, inhale. And exhale. We'll take one more slow, deep breath just like that. Feel the breath moving into the lungs. Feel the rib cage expand, and pause and just sustain the breath for one moment. Feel the expansion of the rib cage. Feel the lungs and the aliveness there, and then slowly exhale. Let your breath return to normal now. And we'll just take a few moments here just to tune in to the movement, the energy of the breath. So we felt it here as we were taking these slower, deeper breaths. See if you can notice your breath just at this normal pace. And if it helps, you can place one hand on the rib cage and one hand on the belly. And as you inhale, you might feel a sense of expansion. And as you exhale, a sense of release. Each time you inhale, you're breathing vital healing energy into the body. The lungs and the rib cage are expanding. The belly moves out. And as you exhale, you're feeling a sense of letting go. Rib cage is softening. Belly's relaxing back toward the spine. Lungs empty. So we'll just stay here just a few more moments, a few more breaths, just simply noticing that energetic movement of the breath, expansion and release. And then slowly take another deep breath. Let your eyes blink open. And just observe your body, observe your mind. Just kind of notice any shifts that may have taken place in your energy or your pain level, maybe a shift in your anxiety. Okay, so this is just a really short practice that we did. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of steps that I want to point out because you can, I think that was about 5 minutes. I meant to check the time, and by the time I thought of that, it was too late.
No worries.
So about 5 minutes. So you can even break this practice down if you have less time. Let's say that you're waiting for a doctor's appointment or you're in between meetings at work or something and you have a little bit of time. Step one is to just pause, be still, and sense your body wherever it is. So just feel your body connecting to the earth or the chair like we did in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So that's step one. So it's using our senses, using sensation to kind of tune into the body and what's happening around us. And then step two, we took a couple of really slow, deep breaths. So we were just kind of, again, now that our attention was focused on the body, We're just trying to slow things down a little bit and notice and pay attention. Mm. And then the third part was just experiencing, sensing into the body at maybe a little bit more intimate level. We were just sort of sensing that movement and that energy of the breath, the expansion and release. So you can do one of these or all three of these. And again, whatever your time and your day allows, it's just kind of nice little techniques that you can turn to.
Yes, kind of keep in your back pocket. And the thing I love about them also is that the more you kind of engage in this and really commit to it, I don't want to say it gets easier, but it just becomes kind of second nature, if you will. You don't have to stop and think about the steps so much. And so what would you say to someone who maybe went through something like what we just did and felt their anxiety or their pain escalate?
Right. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes focusing on the breath can cause anxiety for some people. So the idea is to, first of all, don't give up right away. So if that was your experience, that's okay. It happens sometimes. But I would suggest that you be willing to try again. The idea is more about sensing the breath and just noticing it versus trying to change it, think about it, or analyze it. So the more you can just use your five senses, so you might hear the breath moving. So you use sound. You might feel the breath moving. You might feel the touch of air moving in and out of your nostrils, right? The more that you can feel the breath versus think about it or analyze it, the easier it becomes, and the more likely your nervous system is to respond. So it does take practice, just like anything. If you are a type of person who is in pain a lot and has a busy life like I do, where you're moving from one thing to the next with not much rest in between, then sometimes just the idea of sitting still can feel difficult. So sometimes it helps to just go, before you start the practice, to maybe set a little intention for yourself. Just say, okay, I'm just going to set a timer. I'm going to just take 5 minutes to be still. Set everything aside and just take 5 minutes. And that way when you set a timer, you're not sitting there wondering, how much longer do I have left, or feeling anxiety about not getting things done, So that's another little tip that you can try. But I would just say stick with it, because there's research that shows that it will be beneficial if you trust the practice.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think that you and I can both attest to being, living proof of this working, and we both touch the lives and work alongside others on a daily basis that are experiencing and have, the same thing happening. And it's such a gift, because it's not, something that we get to experience and they can't. It's really accessible to everyone. You can tap into it. It's your energy. I mean, that can't be wrong, and it exists for everybody. So
exactly. And you know what, Mia, one thing that I didn't mention in the beginning, which might be really helpful, is part of the reason you and I met is because, and why I was interested in this group is because I have experienced chronic pain in my life as well. So I do understand what it's like to have those moments. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about sharing these ideas with other people, and why I'm working on moving my work from, business into more healthcare or related practice of yoga therapy, because I want to be able to share what's worked for me with other people.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, it's not my business to spread, so I wasn't going to mention it, but it just brings all the more credibility to what we're talking about here, because the main audience of people who are going to hear this, a lot of them are in chronic pain, and a lot of us feel like there's absolutely nothing we can do. We've tried everything. What it boils down in my mind is, like I said, I've been doing this a while now, and I can, when I'm driving, when I'm, well and able enough to drive, or, like you said, waiting at the doctor, or, something I noticed is when I'm waiting on the computer to load, or something that gives me that moment where you can choose which fire you're going to feel. Okay, are you going to get stressed, or are you going to decompress? Here's a breath. And ultimately, Jen, I have to be honest, if you're not in the mind frame that your life and your well-being and your quality of life and your mental state and all that good stuff is worth 5 minutes a day, I don't know what to say to you. I mean, I guess we're not talking to you yet. You have to be where you're at in the journey to be receptive to even what we're alluding to. And I guess I wanted to mention kind of the definition of mindfulness. Maybe you can help me with this, but it's, kind of just being in the present moment without judgment.
Mm-hmm.
What would you add?
Yeah, it's just about paying attention to what's happening in front of you right now.
Right.
And the judgment piece is really important when we're practicing maybe a formal meditation or mindfulness practice, because it's really easy to catch ourselves not focusing on what's in front of us and then beating ourselves up over the fact that, we had a moment of distraction, because we're all distracted. There was a Harvard study done not too long ago in 2010 that showed that the average adult is not focused on what's in front of him or her 47% of their time. So almost half of our waking hours, we are not focused on what's right in front of us. And that can sound really shocking, like, maybe to some people, like, wow, that surprises me. Or to some of us, we might feel like, yeah, that sounds about right, because, if how many times are we in the middle of planning what we're going to do next, and someone comes up to us and asks us a question, and we don't really hear the question because our mind is focused on something else, right? So through this practice of mindfulness, we can be aware of where we are and what we're doing right now. For example, what's my pain level today? What is it really today, versus catastrophizing about what it could be if this condition that I have gets worse, right? Mm-hmm. Let's focus on what's happening right now in this moment. What's your experience now? How has it shifted? Or going back to the past about, the last time this happened, I got really sick and it was awful, and then projecting that onto the current experience, which may or may not be the case. So that's how this mindfulness practice can really help us in the moment in our day-to-day lives. It can help us with our relationship to the pain. And that's part of what I work on with my clients is through observation and practice and awareness, we start to become aware of our relationship to pain, because it's not necessarily the pain itself that's the issue, it's how we relate to the pain. Just like anything, right? It's not necessarily the fact that someone cut us off in traffic. It's about how we relate to that experience, right? So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, and there's a lot of studies being done right now about chronic pain as a condition in and of itself, and how the mind plays a role in the level of chronic pain and whether or not, or how people heal from it. Because when we get caught in sort of that catastrophizing mode, the pain naturally intensifies because the nervous system is not feeling safe. The nervous system is on high alert for a long period of time. So it's hard for the body and the mind to heal under those kinds of conditions.
Absolutely.
So
and
again,
would it be fair to say then that, at that point that could be causing or amplifying or whatever, PTSD and things like that? I mean, I can't imagine living on the brink, where your nerves are on edge so much of the time. Can't that be considered traumatic in and of itself?
Yes, it can be. And so that's why we have to teach the body how to relax. It's sometimes we, especially if we've been under a lot of stress for a long period of time, whether, there's so many different reasons why people experience PTSD, but
Right.
the point being that the nervous system is on high alert and has been or can be easily triggered, right?
Right.
So we have to understand what's happening and then allow it to happen and see if we can change our relationship to that pain or that experience, that trigger.
I love that word relationship, because it's something that we try to maybe avoid and dodge and buck and weave and, no, I'm not going to deal with that. That's painful and, no, now I don't feel well and downward spiral, so on and so forth. So relationship, learning to maybe coexist with it doesn't mean we have to like it. But just kind of meeting it where it's at and always remembering, too, I think it's important that things are ever evolving. Right? I mean,
yes.
Our current destination, like I've heard said, isn't, our final. We're still moving forward, hopefully. What can we do in this moment? I think a lot of times we tend to bite off more than we can chew and then get down on ourselves when if we can't measure up to maybe our own expectations or that of others and whatnot. And it all just boils back down to being present and I think gracious with ourselves. And I love the concept of being more childlike and also treating ourselves similarly to how we would someone we care about. I don't know why or where, I guess. I kind of fell by the wayside in our society. I guess that would be a phone conversation for a different time. But, Jen, being a chronic pain warrior yourself, I want to close with what your last final go-to life or death type of scenario situation piece of advice, I guess, would be, or what's the mantra that comes to your mind, in those moments when you are curled up on the bathroom floor and, it's just been too long and you don't know how much longer you can hang on at that point, because there are people out there like that, and that's kind of how and why you and I are doing what we're doing here. What would you say? What would you say?
What comes to mind for me is something that my teacher says, and that is that right now, in this moment, there's one thing I know for sure, and that is that there's more going right with me than not, right? Mm-hmm. And I will often remind my clients of that. Sometimes they need to be reminded that, yes, you're in a lot of pain. Yes, you're not sure you can make it, but there is more going right with you than not. And if, just like anything in life, everything is changing. Even the pain is changing. So even at the worst moment, we know it's going to change, right? It's just like a storm coming through. It's going to come and it's going to go. The fear is going to come, and we know that it's going to go. We just have to allow it to be there when it needs to be there and trust that there's more going right with us than not.
That's beautiful. Yes, we do all maybe experience these moments where it couldn't possibly get any worse than this, and then something else happens and you're kind of shaking your fist up to the sky like, why me? What's next?
I know.
It's understandable. I mean, these are situations that would cause, I think, just about anyone to be on the brink of that insanity. But that's why there's people like us doing what we're doing. I'm curious if someone out there hearing this right now would like to follow up with you on any of this or ask a question or maybe even obtain some of your services, how would they do that?
Well, they can visit my website, which is resilienceyogatherapy.com, or email me. My email is Jennifer, 2 N's and 1 F, at resilienceyogatherapy.com. So it's just all one word.
Okay.
Yeah, anytime. Any questions, if anyone wants to reach out to me, I would be more than happy to talk with them and share what I've learned has helped me and my clients.
Perfect. And I kind of did extend that platform to groups and whatnot. If anybody had any questions, I'll definitely follow up with you myself. And just, again, thank you for your time, times 2 at this point.
Yeah,
and
you're welcome.
I really look forward to seeing how our paths continue to align together and seeing what kind of projects we can we can mischievously get ourselves into.
Me too, Mia.
So,
and thank you for the work that you're doing as well. I think it's amazing, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So looking forward to what's next.
Well, we shall be in touch. Thank you again so very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Take good self-care. Right?
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Bye.